You saw the title of this video, and you're probably wondering what that update is. I mean, there are so many updates Minecraft could use right now. An end update, a magic update, goodness knows the inventory and the farming systems could use an update, and there are many more. What could possibly be more important than those? Today, we're going to find out. My name is Magma Melon, and this is the Crafting Table, the series where we fix Minecraft's biggest problems. On today's agenda, new resources, a change to the golem system, and a lot of loot tables. Let's go. Exploration has always been a massive part of Minecraft. It's right there from the beginning. If you want to get started, you have to walk and find a tree to punch. If you want to light up your base, you have to travel and get some coal. Although vanilla Minecraft can be anything you want it to be, the way that the devs, and before them Notch, envisaged it, it was a game about exploring, building, and fighting monsters. And that's what the update of Wonder, the update Minecraft most urgently needs, is all about. Minecraft has lost something over the years. We don't have much incentive to explore anymore. The features of a few years back, like monuments and mansions, have become just a part of the game, not meaningful targets or hubs for resource gathering. The average Minecraft player will spend their life within 100 chunks of their base, maybe venturing out once when in the nether or when finding a stronghold. Unless you're hunting for achievements, Minecraft gives little incentive to explore after the first few days, because everything you need can be found close by. The problem is that every item is too easy to obtain. Let's take totems for example. Most would say that those are rare and hard to get. But are they? They were in 1.11, when the only place you could get them was mansions, but now it's possible to find a village and set up a raid farm, getting you hundreds of totems at a time. There's no reason to find a mansion anymore, and therefore, no reason to go exploring for one. If exploration really is at the heart of Minecraft, this is a big problem, and we need an update to counter it. The core of my argument boils down to this. At the moment, exploration in Minecraft looks pretty. But it shouldn't just look pretty. It should have a purpose. So without further ado, here is the update of Wonder, an update that gives exploration that purpose. The update of Wonder is built on 3 pillars, which each give exploration a purpose and incentive. The first one is loot, a physical reward for your travel and combat. The second pillar is excitement, the thrill of fighting monsters in a far-off temple where you really cannot afford to die. And the third pillar is accessibility. You should be able to explore without costs that are tedious and annoying, like the lack of elytra or constant reference to the F3 screen. Loot, excitement, and accessibility. With regards to exploration, there's clearly one place we can go to improve all 3. Generated structures. Let's fix Minecraft's structures. The new ones, back to 1.9 or so, all look pretty good. Bastions, the new villages, ancient cities, they're all so detailed and interesting. But older structures have been overlooked for a long time. First off, let's talk about visual updates. Immersion is really important in Minecraft, and nothing breaks immersion more than seeing something like this. There are 2 ways to solve this. First off, get good at building. Turn this into this, turn this into this, and turn this into this. Secondly, make structure variants. One of the reasons bastions are so great is because there are so many different types which can be mixed together in different ways. Some bastions have treasure rooms, some don't. Some bastions have stables, some don't. This makes each one different. So the answer is really simple here. Do this for a bunch of different structures. The 3 temples of the game, desert, jungle, and ocean, come to mind. Here's just a concept for some of the rooms that these could have. Each one would have a different rarity, and each one would make the structure feel really unique. Just having these little variations makes structures so much more immersive, because the experience is new each time, and you don't know what's around the corner. But with the visual aspect dealt with, we still need to look at how structures relate to our 3 pillars. The most difficult pillar to get right here is loot. The sad fact is, after a few days of play, only a few structures are worth your time, because most of the loot in jungle temples or dungeons is rotten flesh and bones. When working out this problem, I decided on a very basic principle. The quality of loot should be directly proportional to the risk of the structure. If a structure is easy to get into and loot, then the loot should be worse than the loot of a structure which requires lots of resources and planning to even enter. Shipwrecks, for example, are a great source of loot, and because of buried treasure maps, they lead to even more. But for someone who has even the slightest idea what they're doing, there's no issue there. That loot is just free. It isn't a reward, it's a gift. And I don't like that. Changing the loot tables is a must. If we rank the current structures by difficulty, and then rank them by the quality of their loot, we get two very different sets of results. This doesn't even factor in rarity. Ruined portals, for example, have much better loot than ocean monuments, but they don't pose any risk and are much more common. Why on earth would you go to an ocean monument for gold if you can get it at much less risk and time by finding a portal? The logic of the game here is broken. But when we talk about risk, we have to talk about the second pillar of the update of Wonder: excitement. One of my biggest gripes with nearly all structures at the minute is that they can be cheesed. You go in, you know where all the traps are, you know how to avoid the mobs, you get your loot, and you go. Some of the stuff we've mentioned so far, like structure variations, helps with this a bit, but one way to make structures much less cheesable is to pull an ancient city approach. Allow it to be cheesed, just make it difficult. You can cheese the ancient city by using projectiles and wool, but that's the point. There are ways to avoid the danger, but they take effort. Let's use the jungle temple as an example. At the minute, I can go in, find a block, mine down, skip the puzzle, and get my loot. The way to fix this is to break the problem down. I would be more inclined to do that puzzle if it was the easiest way to reach the chest. So, let's stick some cobwebs and spiders in the chest room, and make the levers release water, which removes the cobwebs, allowing us to access the chest. Problem solved. The player can still skip the puzzle, but it costs them. A player shouldn't be punished for skipping something using a smart and a practical workaround, but it should have a risk which is equivalent to how much time they're saving. The last pillar is accessibility. Structures should be challenging, but not frustrating. This actually links into what I was just saying, but in the opposite direction. For every puzzle, there should be a workaround. This means that your physically skilled players have a high-risk, high-reward fight on their hands, and your brainiac players have a slower, but more mentally complicated experience. This means that anyone can take on a basic structure, although there should be structures that lend themselves more to one type or the other, of course. So, that's structures. They're one of the main reasons we go exploring in Minecraft, and they're also one of the things Minecraft exploration could do a lot better. But there's another incentive to explore, which is arguably more important. Let's talk about that. Here's a question. What do red sand, mangrove wood, coral, and sunflowers have in common? I said earlier that a lot of players have no reason to venture away from their base in search of other biomes. But that wasn't entirely true. There are some resources that you can only find in certain biomes, like all the resources I've just listed. And this is how Minecraft can incentivize exploration again. There is only one way to force the player to explore, and that's when they need a certain resource which is only found in a certain area. And while forcing the player to do anything might sound like it defeats the point of a sandbox, if you want every resource at your fingertips, then just go and play creative mode, mate. So I propose that when Minecraft adds new resources, it should make them biome exclusive. We already have some, but each biome needs a pull factor other than, oh, it looks pretty. If an entire biome is there just to look pretty, then it means very little for the game. If every biome was just there to look pretty, then there wouldn't be a game. You might think this sounds like a great idea, but you also might be asking, alright Magma Melon, nice suggestion, but what kind of resources can be biome exclusive and still useful in the wider game? And I see where you're coming from. When you think of biome-specific resources, they normally aren't important. They're just new building blocks or trading items. They don't really mean anything. Well, in my opinion, there are two systems that we can make biome exclusive without breaking them. Those are the enchanting system and the golem system. The enchanting system is easier to explain, so I'll start with that. Enchanted books are the way that enchanting is done late game, and what better way to encourage late game adventuring than with biome-specific enchanted books? I mean, think about it, it's logical. If you want Frostwalker on your boots, it makes sense to go to a really cold biome and find an igloo. If you want Depth Strider or Respiration, an Ocean Monument would be the logical next step. If you want fire resistance, then I don't think a Nether Fortress is too much of a stretch. Basically, if you want protection from fire, you need to go to an area where fire is a significant risk. The cost should be tied to the reward. This could also be tied in with new enchanted book textures. I drafted these up really quickly, and I'm pretty proud of them. As for the golem system, this one requires a bit more explanation. Picture this. You're trekking through the vast underground network of caves, when you find a mine shaft. You follow the passage along through the deep slate, and in one of the chest minecarts there's a strange object with a symbol on it. Once you find two of these symbols, called glyphs, you can use them to activate a golem by putting them in the eye slots of the cart pumpkin. I've always felt that iron golems are much too cheap to build for how hard they hit, so by collecting iron glyphs in mineshafts and snow glyphs in igloos, you have both an extra cost to making golems and another biome-specific uncraftable resource. This also allows the golem idea to be expanded, with new glyphs found in other structures. It both reinforces old ideas and makes it much easier to balance new ones. By just changing the rarity of a glyph in a loot table, you can make golem creation much more balanced than by tweaking the blocks needed to physically construct one. These aren't the only ideas I have for biome-specific resources though. How about a new kind of blue nether wart that only grows in soul sand valleys, but which brews inverse potion effects by default? Or how about driftwood planks that only spawn buried in beaches? The list of items to add is endless, and we haven't even talked about the possibility for new end biomes yet. One thing, however, is clear. Biome-specific resources are the way forward for exploration, and earn their place in my concept of the Update of Wonder. So far, we've tackled two of the biggest problems when it comes to exploration in Minecraft, but we've mostly been focusing on the first two pillars of my update: loot and excitement. What about accessibility? Whenever we're talking about travelling long distances, we're talking about potential boredom and frustration. Not only that, but if you don't have an elytra, then quick exploration isn't really an option. Then again, there's a unique enjoyment to exploring on the ground, but you sacrifice so much speed that it can sometimes feel like wasting time. You may sense where I'm going here, and you may be wondering if it's time to click off the video. I mean, Minecraft doesn't need a fast travel system, does it? It's a procedurally generated world with no set landmarks, and surely a fast travel system would just ruin exploration more than it would help. Well, allow me to explain why a fast travel system is actually a great idea, and how I would implement it into the game while not breaking what we've made so far. Let's start with the basics. Why would a player want a fast travel system? Well, there are a few core reasons. Number 1, travel between multiple bases and farms, some of which need to be in the spawn chunks or really far out. Number 2, to gather lots of resources and get them back home quickly, rather than flying thousands of blocks. Number 3, travelling through areas that you've been through before can be really tedious if you know them well, or have to climb mountains with no elytra. And number 4, strongholds, mansions, and other rare structures can be super far out from base and maddening to reach normally. So when designing a fast travel system, we need something that won't destroy exploration of new areas, but will allow access to old areas while potentially nerfing elytra a bit. Allow me to present what I believe to be an elegant solution, and a better solution than the deep dark portal idea that some have proposed. Using a lodestone and deep slate bricks, you can create an obelisk. An obelisk is powered by experience points, the amount varying with regards to how far away you want to travel, perhaps a level for every 50 blocks. You can only teleport to another obelisk set up in the location you want to teleport to, and you can activate it with one of 8 items. A pair of obelisks activated with the same item will bind to each other, meaning you can have up to 8 pairs of obelisks in a world. However, an obelisk can only be activated once placed down, meaning that you have to have visited the area before you can fast travel there. In addition, it's going to cost you experience if it's a long way away. For balancing's sake, I think these shouldn't work in the Nether, but in the overworld, I think they're a good solution. I don't quite know how the user interface would work, or how you'd bind more than one obelisk together without creating a weird space warp conundrum, but the base idea is there. Since the recipe only requires one netherite in the form of a lodestone, the obelisk is fairly accessible mid-game, but its XP cost scales with how much you want to use it. It also means that they can't be used to cheese the death system or to warp to anywhere near the world border. The system isn't quite perfect, and there are still arguments as to why Minecraft is better off without fast travel, but with regards to functional exploration, I think this idea works really well. I hope you can see that this is an update Minecraft really needs. Exploration is such a huge part of this game, and I feel that we can miss that sometimes because it isn't physical. It's not physical like oceans, not physical like villages or dimensions or inventories. Many recent updates have made the physical side of exploration look wonderful again, but they've failed to give us reasons to venture out into the unknown besides that. I hope that this video shows clear steps that Mojang can take to give us an incentive for exploration once again, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. It took quite a long time to make, and so if you want to see future episodes of the crafting table, then hit like and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, see you next time.